Welcome to another episode of the Poor Taste Podcast. Today I am joined by my boyfriend, Nicholas.
Howdy.
He also goes by Nick.
Primarily, I would say, yes.
Primarily?
Yeah.
Are there any other names you go by?
You
You actually do go by another one.
Max.
Yes.
I've been called Max before.
Because that's your last name.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of my buddies used to call me that in high school. He was like the only person that would call me that. And then somebody called me that because they didn't know my name, and I'm like, you don't deserve that.
You don't deserve that.
It's reserved for long-term friendships.
Yes.
Yep. That's why you can't call me Max.
That's only reserved for the most special people in my life.
Special people.
And you're not on that list.
Nope.
Well, are you excited to be on the show?
I am. It's been a while. Or we've been talking about it for a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Since you've been on the show.
It feels it's been too long since I've been in this chair with this mic.
Yes. This idea we've always wanted to start like a sports podcast together, just like the two of us, for a little while now.
You've mentioned it before, but I've also thought, I guess that's anybody when they talk about sports. They're just spewing their opinions. Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. You can have some semblance of an idea, but when it comes down to it...
I love just spouting my opinion.
You do? Can't confirm.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. Let's just jump right into the drink of choice.
Just jump right into it.
Let's. Why don't you tell everybody what you have picked to drink today, and then, as per usual, what I've started doing is I've started doing a little bit of facts and knowledge about the drink of your choice.
I'd be curious to hear. I don't really know the...
Yeah, it's very interesting because there's a lot of, with some of the past ones that I've done, there's a lot that I did not know. So, and a lot of other people didn't know, so.
I'm sure. I don't really know the history of anything.
Anything at all. I don't know anything. All right, go ahead. Why don't you explain the drink of choice and why you chose this drink?
So my drink of choice today is an old-fashioned. Not quite as prim and proper as some other nicer ones would make. We don't have the orange slice and things like that, but we do have some nice Kentucky straight bourbon, which bourbon is a type of whiskey. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that for a long time either.
I didn't. I thought that they were two separate things.
Whiskey is almost like an umbrella term. It can cover a lot of different things. Like Scotch is technically whiskey.
See, that...
Bourbon is whiskey.
I also thought that.
Yeah. Well,
they were all separate things.
Nope.
Umbrella
term. Umbrella.
Nice. And so why would you pick an old-fashioned?
I'm not really sure. I do like to sip some straight whiskey every now and then, especially if I'm watching a game or something like that. But I usually don't make myself an old-fashioned, and I didn't really drink them too much until I was I just want to sip on some straight whiskey, but they don't have that on the menu. I'm this old-fashioned, it's basically more or less straight whiskey with just a little bit more personality to it.
Yeah. And
I did start taking a liking to them, and so I don't know. It just seemed like an appropriate, good choice.
We get on this show, we'll drink anything, and it doesn't have to be alcohol either. With my friend Kennedy, we drank boba tea because she doesn't drink, so that was also fun because that was not my first time drinking boba, but I don't know, second or third time. So it was just fun.
Yeah.
But
like to change it up.
We'll take a first sip and then because I know that my ice is starting to melt, so we'll cheers.
Yeah, my hand was getting cold, so I set it down.
Yeah. So we'll take a sip.
Smells good. A little stiff.
It's not bad though. I think the whiskey is that's pretty good. I'm not one to usually drink an old-fashioned.
Definitely
not. But I'm not opposed to drinking whiskey. I like Jim Beam whiskey and things.
It's good stuff.
I I don't really know what other drinks are whiskey that I like. Is it amaretto sour? Is that whiskey or is that vodka? I think it's vodka.
Maybe.
That's vodka.
I can't say definitively.
I ordered that at the airport. I think it was vodka. But now let's get into some facts about an old-fashioned.
Let's hear 'em.
So,
rattle them off.
It was said to be established in the early 1800s.
That's a lie.
When was it?
1799.
17.
All right, keep going.
But
early 1800s. Old.
They
It's
don't.
the old.
They don't have like a specific date. But place of origins is said to be Louisville, Kentucky.
Makes sense.
Yes. But a lot of people say that it's debated, but that's kind of where I found the more people said it was. So it can be debated, but
history is written by the victors, and we wrote the history. Therefore, it was made in Kentucky.
The 1800s, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually it's considered one of the oldest cocktails, dating back to the early 19th centuries.
I can see that.
When a cocktail was simply defined as a mix of spirit, sugar, water, and bitters.
So early, I'm sorry to interrupt, early 1800s, I'm just like putting together this timeline in my head. Obviously, 1776, gained our independence, War of 1812. That puts it in the ballpark. I'm trying to think of how far west we would have been. I don't even know. I'd probably Kentucky territory at that point.
I mean, Louisville, Kentucky, I don't even know if it's like considered American, right? Because it was owned by...
Not at that point.
Not at that point.
Yeah.
So, even though it was created in the States, it wasn't...
It wasn't in the States at that point. That's kind of interesting.
Like it was in the land of what is the United States now, but at the time it was owned by France.
I think so.
I would say around
unless
that
I'm
time.
Completely mixing up my dates, but anyways.
When was the Louisiana Purchase? I don't know history.
I don't know that off the top of my head. It's definitely later than the War of 1812.
Yeah. Which I feel like I should know because I've literally taken an American Revolutionary class
I feel
in college that was not that long ago that literally talked about this whole, like, pretty much the construction of America. It was, like, right at the start of, like, exploration, you know, with Christopher Columbus and all those people and stuff. And then we came to America. And then all the stuff happened in America. So I feel like I should know this stuff, but I do not.
I'm going to sound like a doofus looking back on it, especially because...
Well, that's why I'm trying not to embarrass myself.
I know. I'm not throwing out any dates or anything. I'm just trying to assemble a timeline.
I only have the dates. But, like, I think what we're saying is true, that it wasn't an American... It's not technically considered an American drink, even though it was in the States. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, so like I said, it was basically the definition of a cocktail because it only had spirits, sugar, water, and bitters, and that's like...
That is the definition.
That's exactly what an old-fashioned is
Did not know that.
A spirit. The sugar and the bitters, I think the thing that we had was like mixed together.
Yes.
And then, because it's like a syrup bitter.
Yeah.
Water, obviously. We didn't put any water in this.
The syrup stuff has like filtered water in it. And
so it's like...
Got ice cubes. It's pretty...
Ice cube, yeah. It's got ice cubes. So it's got water in it.
It's kind of a poor man's old fashioned.
Some shape or another.
It's good though. I like it.
And then, so by the 1860s, it's about 60 years in the future, bartenders began getting creative and adding fruits and fancy liqueurs.
Whoa, let's not get too crazy now.
Which annoyed the purists.
Well, yeah, it would. It pisses me off.
So patrons started asking for a drink made the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
So that's why it's
all coming together.
That's why it's called the old-fashioned, is because people were like, back in my day, we didn't add none of this fruit and fancy liqueurs. Liqueurs.
I ain't about it. I won't stand for it, and I don't like it.
So they were like, we want it the old way because change is bad.
I wonder what they're...
Let me die of polio. I don't need no vaccine.
Well, I never got... No, I'm just kidding.
I never got my polio vaccine. I got all the other ones, but not polio. I don't believe in that. So that's why it's called the old-fashioned.
I gotcha. I like
and then the modern version, as we know it, was likely solidified around 1880 at the, this is a fun name, the Pendennis Club. Very close to another word.
What would that word be?
I'll let you put that together in your head.
Pendant, probably?
Yes.
Okay.
Solidified around 1880 at that club in Louisville, which is why Louisville claims to be its birthplace.
I had Louisville going farther in this March Madness tournament. Just to put that in real quick, just to interject.
I had Creighton. I do like Creighton.
I thought they were going to play like dog shit. I thought they had looked
Yes,
not that
they
great.
did not look great, but Creighton, I think, is a team that definitely does better in the tournament, and I think that they
I do think they do.
They knew they were going to get us.
They're resting on their laurels, if you will.
Yes.
Anyways, I keep interrupting your rich history.
This is very entertaining. Please let me continue. Yeah, in Louisville, it traditionally uses bourbon or rye whiskey.
Yep.
Sugar, Angostura bitters, which is what we were looking up earlier, and an orange twist with the occasional cherry. So we have a cherry in here, but we do not have orange.
We don't have the orange, but we have the orange sort of flavor profile in the syrup.
This is the first garnish that we've had on the show.
There we go.
So we at least have cherries now.
Well, had I known I could have won up the other guest, I would have got the orange too to go with it.
But then we've been having a bunch of oranges
sticks
around. Cinnamon sticks, yeah. My dad is calling me.
That just blew my head.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay. Anyways, back to it. Technical difficulties aside. Its most notable occurrence in like pop culture is from Mad Men. Have you ever seen that show?
I have not. I am a bit of a pop culture doofus, I believe is what you would call it.
Do you know what that show is, though?
I've heard of it, but I do not have much familiarity with it.
My parents are obsessed with it. So the character Don Draper essentially just made the old-fashioned iconic again.
Really?
And ordering it with that brooding classic cool that he has.
Suaveness.
I've never seen the show, so I have no idea, but
so
that's just one of the most things I recognize.
When was that show? When would that have been that it brought it back into
2007 and 2015 is the show
that long?
Running.
That's a long time for it to be in limbo a little bit.
What do you mean?
Like as a drink, you said it brought it back into the public eye, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it brought it back, but I think it just like anytime, like just the Cosmopolitan,
solidified it in pop culture.
Not solidified it, just like it was just hot. It was trendy at that moment. Like that was the same thing with like the Cosmopolitan, like in Sex and the City.
Well, I mean, I've been drinking old fashioned since I was back plowing fields with my grandpappy in the late 1900s. So
yes, as a humble farmer. So that is my brief history on the old fashioned.
Nice.
Did you like it?
I did like it.
Nice, thank you. It took me a long time to do this research.
I'll enjoy another. I don't believe you. I was sitting right next to you. It took you 10 minutes and some TikTok videos.
Yes.
It was a little stiff, huh?
It's not bad. It's definitely.
You're like, bleh.
I just don't care for if I'm going to enjoy a drink. If I were to, I think I would enjoy sipping on this. Mm-hmm. But when I drink, I usually drink. Let's see what he said. Yes, he said just catching up on the basketball game.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
That is kind of a good segue into our next topic. But I was gonna let me finish this thought first. So I was gonna say if I'm gonna drink a drink, I'm gonna drink it, throw it back. This I cannot throw back. I could throw it back if I wanted to barf.
Oh yeah.
But I do like to enjoy the drinks that I have if I am going to drink.
I throw it back arguably too much. Like I just be posting up in the street just.
The problem with this though now too is that we have not eaten a thing. No, that's not true. We had breakfast.
We had breakfast. We had some Jimmy D and Egg McMuffin sandwiches.
We were going to get McDonald's breakfast this morning.
And that selfish bastard closed it too soon.
We woke up at like 10:30 and we were like, let's go get McDonald's breakfast. Luckily, though, we did not leave.
That's true. That would have been worse if we showed up to order.
We showed up and would have been like, oh my God, yeah, wait, we literally cannot get this. So yeah, we had McDonald's at home this morning.
McDonald's at home.
Which did you enjoy it?
It was good. It was good. I enjoyed some coffee and just kind of had a chill morning. And
yeah, it was a good chill morning.
Long story short, yeah, it has been a hot minute since I've procured sustenance, if you will.
Yes, it has been hours. So this might get me. I
can't wait to operate a motor vehicle.
Yeah, because we still have to go get dinner too.
Yep.
Well, maybe we'll have to end up door dashing. I don't know. Okay. All right. Anyways, back to the segue that I was going to do, but now it's kind of past. March Madness.
Of course.
We are both really into March Madness. Well, we are both generally into sports.
Hence the podcast that we had discussed earlier.
Hence the podcast. We want to do our own sports podcast, so that might be coming soon, so look out for that. But for right now, this will be a special edition Poor Taste podcast sports edition.
Poor taste. I pour old fashioned on the coach when we win.
Poor taste, poor opinions on sports.
Bingo.
You pour what on the couch? Wait, I just got what you
on
said.
On the coach. I said
on the coach. Oh, like Gatorade.
I pour old fashioned on the coach when we win.
Yes. So
it's an expensive celebration, but coach enjoys the finer things.
I am too competitive for this world, and I opted out of doing a competitive bracket with people this year, except I have one out at my work that I have already lost because St. John's just lost to Arkansas, and I had St. John's going all the way. So that is a mad upsetting. But I have some other brackets out there that are doing okay. But St. John's losing today has
St. John's ruined their pants.
They did absolutely horrible. I have never seen a travesty that big in my life.
In your life? Now that's a bold claim.
Actually, that's a lie. Because I've seen that with Purdue.
That's true.
I do not like Purdue.
Nope.
But yeah, so St. John's has ruined all of my brackets, because I've had St. John's going at least to the Final Four in a lot of them.
I think the biggest one, the ones that hurt me, was Memphis, like I'm sure a lot of people, and
Clemson.
I had that one. I knew that was coming.
You McNeese?
I did.
I had McNeese in a couple of my brackets, but I guess I was a little bit. Well, that's not true. I know McNeese is makes their appearances in March Madness.
Now that I'm correct, I will say with confidence that I knew.
I knew. I had.
Everybody else is just guessing. And all of the picks that I got wrong was the damn fluke, and the result of poor refereeing. Refereeing. Yep, that's the word.
There was one. Oh, I almost had San Diego over Michigan.
That was a close game.
I almost had that one.
You did.
I almost had that one.
But you didn't.
I had a couple of close ones too. My upsets, and I did very, very well in the first round. I calculated it last night. I had 26 out of 32 matchups correct.
Yes, you were doing very well.
I was doing very well, and now I'm doing very poorly. So, like I said, that's why they call it March. Well, not like I said,
the
but
breaks.
That's the madness part of the March. The madness part of the March Madness. So,
what are you gonna do?
But this is why I cannot do. If I am in competing with other people,
refuse to join the bracket pool with some of my buddies that she was in previously.
I couldn't do it.
You're way too into it. Like a methed out homeless person asking me for a Reese's peanut butter cup when I enter the gas station at 3 a.m. Just way, way too adamant for that Reese's cup.
Yes, the Reese's cup is too addicting.
It's too enticing. It really is.
If I do not get that Reese's cup, I will
smoke meth behind the gas station.
Yes, I will. I will go crazy and get upset, and it has affected my family. My mother gets very I don't know.
Scared, I would say.
She gets scared of me.
She does get scared.
She's always like, "Why do you even do it?" And
she pulled me aside the other night, and she's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Does she hit you?"
I do not hit you. Don't say that.
It's okay.
Don't say that.
You're right. I'm not going to say that.
I saw that. I'm watching you.
You're watching me on multiple angles. I don't feel comfortable.
No, I just have the one.
Well, your neighbor thinks I beat you, so now we're even.
That is a funny story.
That is less funny for me as the domestic abuser in the situation.
In the alleged domestic abuser. Do you want to tell that story?
I will give a brief rundown. So basically, we're sitting in the very living room we're recording this in, and I am sitting on the couch over there.
I live in an apartment.
Yes. So there's a neighbor right across the hall on the top floor, and we are watching games, having a few brews. You know how it is. And
football.
Maggie stands up during like a break or something like that.
We had just had dinner.
Yep.
We were cleaning up dinner,
Yeah, tidying up. The trash gets a little full. Maggie's like, okay, I'm taking this out. So she comes by, and I'm like, do you want me to just run it down real quick? And she says, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, are you sure? And so as this like conversation is going on, she's opening the door and slowly backing out of the entrance. And
this is while you're like pleading to take the trash out.
I'm like, really, it's okay. I don't mind. It's right there. You know, it's nighttime. I got my beer with me, and so I'm holding the beer
in hand.
Beer in hand. I am looking out the precipice of the doorway, and Maggie has her back turned, and her neighbor opened the door, and I am looking at her neighbor over Maggie's shoulder, and she just goes, "Why don't you just sit down and drink your beer and watch football like you always do?" And I see, all while I am making direct eye contact with her neighbor right across the hall, and I'm just like, close the door. I'm like, all right.
And I was oblivious to this whole thing. I said that as a joke, first of all, because I was just gonna take the trash out just because I was just had it in my hand.
Yeah,
like,
already up.
Yeah, literally. But I said that, and I was oblivious to this whole thing, and I go take the trash out, and as soon as I walk in the door, Nick is like, your neighbor was like staring at us while the encounter. Yes. And so now
saw the whole thing.
Now my neighbor thinks that I am being domestically abused by my boyfriend.
Wild times.
Which is not true.
Which is not true for the record.
For the record, I am not getting domestically abused.
Now you're leaning into it too much. Now people aren't going to believe you.
Now it's just a cry for help. I am blinking multiple times.
Okay, so when I cry for help, I'll spike that over there. What did I tell you about talking?
I just think that is just a funny story.
It was amusing. I will give her that. It was
now that
amusing.
it's been, was that this past year?
It's been it was probably last year. Probably late last year.
Yeah.
But anywho,
we just went on our first adult vacation, I think, right?
We did.
We went to Colorado. I have talked about spring break on the podcast.
We've been to the lake and stuff before, but this was probably our biggest.
Yes. We've been to the lake multiple times. And when we went to Arkansas, I mean, that was a place that I'd never been. And had you gone to that? You've gone there before.
I don't think I did. My first time at Beaver Lake with my family was my first time there as well.
This is the first time we've flown together.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
Yep.
I feel like there's a little bit of difference when you drive a place versus when you fly somewhere. And so this was our first flying trip together. But you've been flying to a lot of places recently, so
I have been traveling.
It wasn't, and I've flown before, so it wasn't like a first time we've both been flying at all.
Mm-hmm.
But this was
my first time flying. I was by myself. Fresh out the womb, stumbling around in the airport.
I don't think I could do that. I think I would have shut down. If the things that happened to you, I don't think I would have. I hate
They tried, TSA tried to cavity search me. They were getting a little handsy. And I think I also had a problem there, too, with the power bank. Every time.
I mean, I definitely see why the power bank gets flagged, but I mean,
I don't understand why it took so long. This dude was like acting like it was a foreign object. I'm like, look, there's a button.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a button right here. It lights up a little screen, and it shows you how much battery you have in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, it's not that deep. But you're like, it's good. I like it.
It has I don't like the first taste that it has.
But then sits with you okay?
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like,
that's fair.
Like the aftertaste a little bit.
But yes, it was a great trip. I had a lot of fun. I am eternally grateful to your parents for
we did go with our
sponsoring
parents.
my voyage.
So we still haven't taken a trip by ourselves yet.
Yeah.
But I think that is due to the fact that we are both pretty poor. So we have to mooch.
Speak for yourself.
I was going to say,
no,
you have a real person job and you make
I
money.
Do.
I still work hourly at an hourly job and am in college. But that will end soon because I'm graduating in a few weeks. But yeah, so we haven't gone on a vacation by ourselves. And we were talking about this earlier because we were like, we should go to Legoland.
Legoland
and
would be bitchin'.
I briefly looked up Legoland tickets and stuff. And
that immediately shut that down.
Like,
ooh.
But I do think that we should go on a trip by ourselves, even if it's like to the lake.
Yes.
You know?
We definitely should. That'll be on the books, on the agenda eventually.
Then we got to see how we function in trip environment.
That's true. Who knows?
We've been
Maybe
dating.
the abuse does come out then. Who's to say?
We will be dating for 3 years in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Less than a month.
We met, or not met, but started talking on my birthday.
Yes.
On the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
that's coming up very soon.
Your birthday is less than a week away, right?
It is, yeah.
It's next Friday.
It's Friday, yep.
You'll be turning the ripe age of 23 years old.
I know. I can no longer sing Taylor Swift.
You are so old.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I was plowing fields with my grandpappy.
So much older than me, too, so.
Cradle robber, some might say.
Mm-hmm. A whole 5 months.
Ooh, that's too much.
That's too much.
Almost Leonardo DiCaprio levels.
Yes, but we went to Breckenridge, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous.
Yes, I went when I was 10 years old with my family. But we had gone to Hidden Valley skiing because we skied in Breckenridge. We also did tubing, which was a lot of fun.
The tubing was fun. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
The tubing was a grand time, and I'm glad we did the 2 hours instead of the 1 hour. I think I was getting I don't want, like, bored is not the right word, but I know what you mean. I was satisfied by the end of 2 hours because there was only like
I've
5.
done enough to enjoy it. There's 5 lanes. They're all relatively similar.
The same. But
and
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would definitely do the tubing again. And the skiing was a lot of fun. I had a really rough first day.
The first day, Maggie was red in the face. She was pushing over children on the slopes.
I was not pushing children on the slopes. I was red-faced. I could not catch my breath. The altitude hit me like a freight train. And, the first night that we were there, where our condo was, you could walk to the town.
Yep.
And we went to dinner and stuff, and we walked back on our first night, and we walked up a hill. And it's crazy, like, just how much the altitude, like, affects you. Like, I could not catch my breath. Plus, our condo was on the 3rd floor of these, like, pretty steep steps. Like, they were pretty narrow. And there's technically, like, do you like it? Because you're also making a face.
Really?
Is that just your whiskey drinking face?
I think it might be. It's kind of like...
If you don't like it, that's okay. I'm just saying.
It's good.
I want to get to the cherry at least. That's what I want to do at least. And
it's like when I groan like an old man when I sit down and stand up. I do that. Ugh.
I mean, I do that too.
But I think that's just that just comes with the turf. Like, I don't actually feel that way. It's the same, like I'm maybe making a face, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah. Anyway, so when we were walking back, we all were pretty winded. You have to admit you were at least a little winded.
I was a little bit winded, but I'm also an Olympic athlete.
Yes, you play beer softball in the summer, beer league softball.
Yes.
So
I do.
You are in the prime of your life right now.
I hit bombs. I don't hit bombs.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing that again this year?
I sure hope so.
Okay.
We are, actually. That is confirmed. We're doing summer league.
I'm definitely going to come to more games now that I'm out of school and stuff. So.
Okay. Be prepared to be disappointed. That's all I have to say. That's what I have to say.
I think it's still fun to watch. Like,
I had a great time. It's still fun to play, even when you get your teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
Well,
what I really want to do is I think we should do a sand
volleyball would be fun.
We did that once over the summer.
Dan yelled at me.
Dan did yell at me. My brother and sister-in-law and a couple of their friends were in a sand volleyball league, and they did backups, and so. I think
they needed backups, and they called the wrong crew.
I think we didn't call. I think we were literally like a last resort.
I'm sure we haven't been called since.
I know, and I had so much fun. We did not win.
I'm just gonna show up one time.
I even would find it fun to like just watch. Like, I just love sports, and I played basketball for 12 years, and so, or actually I don't know. I keep saying it's 12 years, but I don't think it was 12 years. I think it was like 10. I don't know. I played basketball for a very long time. So I'm just like an athletic person. At least I used to be. I'm not so much anymore, but I get that craving of just like.
You're a lot more competitive with your sports too.
Yes, I'm very competitive. I was in a competitive basketball league for a large chunk of my life. Like, now that I've gotten older, it used to be like 50% of my life was basketball.
Yeah.
And so it was a very competitive year-round basketball.
That doesn't sound enjoyable to me.
I did not like it.
I played sports and stuff growing up like a lot of people do. But, I think part of I think if I was more talented, I would have maybe been a little bit more competitive. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I realized, and I realized very early on, that I was not naturally gifted for that sort of thing.
Well, you played baseball.
I played baseball, I played soccer, I played basketball.
You played a well-rounded sports, too. See, I just played basketball.
For me, it was always just more about love of the game, love of the guys that I'm playing with.
Yeah.
It was, like, obviously, it didn't feel good to lose. But
yes.
if we didn't win, a lot of people are going to think this is, like, heresy. But I do kind of align with that. If you had fun, you won, as dumb as it sounds. Like at the end of the day, that's what I'm there for.
I mean, the most fun that I ever had playing basketball, because there were not a lot of moments that I enjoyed playing basketball as I got older.
And that to me just defeats the purpose.
Yeah, the most fun I had playing basketball was when I was on the 8th grade team at the middle school. And it was with all of my friends that I went to school with that I had been going to school with for a long time. And it was the most fun I ever had because nobody really cared. It was like the first time I had experienced being in a league where winning was not like a priority. Like it was the priority of the coaches and stuff, obviously.
Of course.
But as teammates, we literally
they're trying to live vicariously through you.
Yes, they want us to be the best that we can, and I totally get that. But it was just so refreshing to come off of super competitive basketball with teammates that I would not really consider my friends, and looking back, definitely would not consider my friends.
Yeah.
To playing with people that I enjoyed, and just like getting to know these people that like I went to school with, and we were just like classmates, but I feel like we had all. It
opens up a new avenue for sure. I
had a bond with my teammates that I'd never had while playing with my teammates on the competitive league for years.
Yeah.
And I played 8th grade for that one season that you're in 8th grade, and I played with my other teammates since I was in 1st or 2nd grade.
Yeah.
Up until 7th grade, and then I did not have a bond that scared
the shit out of me.
I know I keep getting pop-ups. Maybe I need to turn do not disturb.
Do not disturb airplane mode. I get that for sure. Because there was definitely people. It puts you in a new environment for sure. It's like anything. When you force people to hang out, they're going to find commonalities between them, even if they wouldn't have naturally found those.
Yeah, we all
normally.
you
have that shared love of the game to fall back on. That's a very easy shared experience.
But I think that's what made it different, was that none of us really
cared
about the game. I think we were all just like,
and that's a thing too.
It was also so funny because we had 17 girls.
Holy shit.
And normally you have I think on my competitive league we had like 8 to 10 maximum. At least 2 teams.
Yeah.
We had 3 strings.
I was going to say, I feel
and
like
an 8th grade team, we had 3 strings.
I was going to say that is a lot of bench depth.
Yes, there was a lot of
sounds like a lot of kids who never saw the court.
Yes. I think they all saw it eventually, but
and the last 2 minutes in a blowout doesn't count.
Well, we never blew out anybody. That was the thing.
If you're getting blown out.
We would get blown out a lot, yes. Yeah. We were not the greatest. And that was also, like I said, also kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Because, on my competitive league, we were pretty good. We won a lot of tournaments. We won a lot of games. So it was just a different experience to basketball than I had experienced.
I think being
as a child, I was 13. And so when I was in 8th grade, I was probably 13 or 14 or whatever. But I'm looking back, I'm like, I really hated that sport for a very, very, very long time at such a young age. And I continued to hate it for a good chunk of my life before I finally asked to quit. And I had to play 1 year of basketball in high school to be able to convince my parents to quit, which I will say I am glad to do it in the sense that now I don't have any regrets, because even now I played basketball for so long that I'm like, I kind of wish that I was in basketball. But then I start thinking about it deeply, and I'm like, I don't think I could do it anymore. Not like the skill, but just like the other aspects of it.
It's part
like,
of the time sink. You know, you got to dedicate a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
It was nice when I was at Rolla, Missouri S&T for college. It was nice to be able to enjoy the rec center and stuff. Just a lot of guys playing pickup basketball. It was just always... I mean, don't get me wrong. There's obviously always some tools. They're like, bro, that's got to be me. That's got to be my ball. That's a foul. We really going to pretend like that's not a foul? I'm like, dog, we are playing pickup basketball at a science and technology school.
At a science and technology school.
Okay? None of us are going even D3.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's not that deep. But it was always a lot of fun to play, or like play horse or tips or knockout, that kind of thing. So I get what you're saying. It's nice to... And that's part of the reason I love beer league softball so much. You get a little bit of that taste without the time dedication and intensity that it requires at a higher level.
I think a part of my competitiveness comes from
your personality.
Well, that is part of my personality, but it's more so in the sense that, like, if I'm good at something, then I want to retain that like what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Like proficiency level?
Kind of. Like, if I'm good at basketball, I do not want to lose, because if I lose, then I'm no longer good at it.
Yeah, it kind of breaks that complex.
That's why I enjoyed sand volleyball so much, because I was not good at it. So I allowed myself to have more fun.
No predetermined notion going into it.
I didn't have like a standard to uphold. You know what I'm trying to say?
For sure.
Like
for sure. It was kind of,
people,
I understood
when people like, because like, I don't want to sound braggy or anything, but I was very talented at basketball, and I had a bunch of people that would come up.
I'm very humble, but more humble than you could realize. But people would come up to me after games and be like, "Maggie, you're so good, you're so talented. You should be the face of the WNBA."
That's literally what people were telling me.
I was Caitlin Clark.
I was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark was a thing. No, that is not true. I was not that good, but I was very good.
Yeah.
At a young age. And so I did have a lot of people come up and tell me how good I was, and it got to my head so quickly. And I felt that if I was not what people thought I was, then I would disappoint everybody.
Yeah. And
so that's where the anxiety came in, and that's probably when...
the beginning of the end.
Yes, that was just not... people... And I don't know where that whole aspect comes from. I had just put a lot on my shoulders at such a young age, that if I failed, that I lost everything that I was. So that's kind of like probably where it stems from, and the anxiety that I got from that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But I do now remember I did play baseball, actually, when I was in
you did.
6th grade, and that was fun. I played in an all-boys league.
Yeah.
But that was like 6th
You're like
grade.
Joe DiMaggio, just pumping gas.
Yeah. I was okay at
raking.
I was okay at baseball. I had a lot of fun on that team, because our team was also very bad, and so I at least enjoyed that aspect. But I could not keep up, because at around 6th grade,
puberty,
boys and girls kind of change a little bit, and so I could not keep up anymore, and so I did not do that and went back to basketball. But that is okay. I had fun on the time that I was there. But yeah, but I still enjoy watching basketball. It's not like I can't, I can't
even
not
if it's
enjoy.
very intensely.
I still am reverted back to my competitive nature when it comes to watching any sports. So, yeah, that's where
that's how the cookie crumbles.
That's
sometimes.
how the cookie crumbles.
Sometimes that's how it shakes out, you know.
Yes, I have other things I want to talk about though.
Okay.
Besides sports, but that's our little sports section, and that was a deep dive into who I am as a person.
And my deep emotional insecurities that have been seeded from a young age.
Now where the root of my anxiety at a young age comes from is now going to be publicly online for the world to see.
There you go.
But that's okay. I don't mind. It's fine. It's part of who I am. Moving on. Let's go back to our trip and talk about flying back. because that was eventful.
Yes, that kind of kicks off a whole lot of stuff.
I've been talking about this a little bit on the podcast because I've had podcast recordings that are pretty closely together. But we had
You've been cramming them in there.
Yes, I had like 3 in the span of like 5 days.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. So we've been kind of talking about similar topics, but that's just more in the sense that like they've been kind of closely recorded together. So
it's a big event.
We're going to talk about the big storm again.
Just a little bit. We won't dwell on it too long.
I want to know your...
This hit home for me.
Yes, it did hit home for you. It hit
literally.
Home because it literally hit your home.
Yes.
You were in the Washington Pacific.
Villa Ridge.
Yes, Villa Ridge. And, Rolla, too. That's where you went to school.
Rolla hit. The place that I stayed is still standing somehow. That absolute shithole.
Seeing that picture was kind of crazy.
I know.
Because I was like, oh, that's your house.
I know.
We had many, many nights in that house.
Yeah.
Miss that Rolla house sometimes.
I do, too. I think I don't know. It's not the house. It's the people that were in it that I miss.
That's true.
For sure.
Yeah. I think just like the house in the sense that
it cultivates that environment.
Yeah. You associate that house with the good memories with the people there.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
Continue.
So we were flying back in from Breckenridge right when this storm is starting to come in. And we had been hearing about it days leading up to it. And it's not coming. It is coming. It's going to be when we land. It's not going to be when we land. Nothing's going to happen. Everything's going to happen. We're all going to die. It's just all over the place. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. So we're finally getting ready to fly out. We're thinking our plane's going to be delayed. Pilot comes out. Big old boy. Wearing his American flag tie. And I'm like, this guy's going to get us home.
This guy's going to fly
He knows how to land that bird, you know. But he whispers something to like the person at the counter that...
Yeah, I don't know if it's a flight attendant or it's like the person who like basically checks your boarding pass. I don't know if they're technically considered a flight attendant. I have no clue.
Yeah, whatever, the gate attendant or whatever. That's
probably
probably
gate
a better
attendant,
word.
yeah.
So I'm like, this gate attendant is about to announce that we're delayed like 16 hours. No, but I'm thinking we're going to get delayed. And somehow we are not delayed, which almost is a little bit more concerning because I'm like, from what I'm hearing, this shit is happening. It is going on, and
yes,
it will be going on.
Yes.
But they prefaced it by saying the plan is to get in after a lot of the worst is blown over. Mm-hmm. So we get on this plane. You know, the flight's good. We're completely fine. And we start getting to the St. Louis area, and you see large parts of the city from the plane that are blacked out, except for ambulance. Like, you can see the lights flashing on the streets, and that's it.
I didn't realize that until we landed, because I had noticed it, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was just like, oh, we're just not in the city yet.
I think
but then, like, I'm like,
dad,
of course we would have been we would have seen so many lights.
Yeah. I think with my dad working with, like, at the power plant, I'm very conscious of like the electrical grid and stuff and how that stuff is affected.
Yes,
especially I also
knowledge of the
I also like
grid.
Did work with transformers and stuff.
Yeah, that's
too.
right. You did. Mm-hmm.
So I
like Optimus Prime.
Yes.
I
was a Decepticon.
Optimus Prime.
But
Optimus Prime, not Optimus Prime.
Octopus Prime.
Octopus Prime. I think that's what I said.
So, but all this is going on, and you can see the light flashing in the clouds as we start to break through. It felt like, the way I described it to my dad when he was asking, it felt like if you've ever seen, and of course now my mind is going to blank.
That movie that you're talking about?
It's a TV show. It's
an TV show.
It's an HBO series with the paratroopers, Easy Company. Why is it not coming to me? It's when they are in the planes and they are getting dropped behind enemy lines during the D-Day invasion in France, in the French countryside. Mm-hmm. But you see all the flat guns, you know, they're in this plane, everything's shaking and shit, and you just see the flashes of light at the flak. Now, obviously, we are in a commercial flight.
And we are not getting
This
bombed.
is nowhere near the same thing, but it reminded me of that scene.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to look at. But I will say, considering the circumstances, I was pleasantly surprised by the landing. And I knew. The
landing was fairly smooth.
Yeah. It was the worst turbulence I've experienced.
That's the worst turbulence you've experienced?
I haven't flown that much.
That's true. I've probably flown the same amount of times as you've flown.
I got some good eggs then, I guess.
I guess so, yeah, because like that was not, to me, that was not terrible. Like it wasn't like the greatest turbulence ever. Like
I didn't
for
think it was
turbulence,
bad either.
there
but
was
it
a
was
lot.
just,
There was a lot of turbulence. There normally isn't that much turbulence,
yeah,
but
just stacking it up to what I've experienced, I would say that it was on the worst side.
yeah.
But also at the same time, not nearly what I expected, considering what we were supposedly flying into.
That's what I was surprising. That's why it surprised me because I was like, that wasn't that
You were
bad
freaking
turbulent. I was freaking out. I have a horrible fear of storms and tornadoes, and so it was not good for me. But we made it, and honestly, I was talking with my mom about this. That like that's probably the best case scenario was to not be at home.
Oh, for sure.
While it happened.
Just getting back to how that affected everything. So, a tornado touched down and completely obliterated multiple buildings, including the Burger King.
Not the Burger King.
I'm not that torn up. I don't really mess with Burger King like that.
I like that.
But this place is like 5 minutes from my house, if that, including Purina Farms, which I worked at.
I know.
I worked at Purina Farms from the moment I turned 16. Like I was.
You still worked there when I met you.
Yeah. I worked there.
Like you worked there that summer that I met you.
Yeah.
I think, or did you take your first internship when we met? I can't remember if you worked there.
No.
I don't think you worked there. That I knew you had worked there.
I didn't get.
You were working there.
I was because I didn't get internships.
I
My
remember
first
your
2
2-week
years,
notice.
I
I
was at
remember that.
community college. My first 2 years, and so I would still pick up shifts while I was at home at community college because it was so close to my house. But back to the point, the storm hit heavily the area, including the barns. It collapsed. Multiple barns, like it hit the cat house and stuff. Thankfully, a lot of the animals were able to be put into foster homes and evacuated off the property and stuff. But there's a lot going on, and I have discussed with my colleagues and coworkers that are still there and stuff. And it's a good thing I thought about it because they told me information that cannot be revealed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like in terms of, I don't know.
Next steps?
Yeah, next steps almost. Like there's just stuff. There's a lot of unsureties right now.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of things that they're just not sure about how it's going to work out.
Really?
But it got hit hard. It got hit really bad, and it was definitely upsetting. A large part of my childhood was based there. My dad would take me there all the time.
Yeah.
To play in the corn and look at the animals and all that stuff, the dog shows. And then obviously I had umpired when I was like 14 and 15, but like my first long hour working a real job type of thing was at Purina, and I had been there for a good amount of years. So it's just when you have so much of your, not identity, but you have a lot of history and memories tied up with a place, and to see it devastated to that extent, and I know almost every animal in that barn by name.
Yeah.
I worked with these animals. I mucked the stalls. I took them for walks. I put them out to pasture, all that kind of thing. So it's just a difficult thing to come to terms with a little bit, with that being gone. So, but thankfully my family was okay. My house was okay. And a lot of people on property. Everybody on property was okay. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a building. But it doesn't make it tough, tough to see.
I will say, if the Old Navy that I worked at got hit by a tornado, I would not be sad. But, yeah, no, that is devastating.
But, yeah, Andy, my brother, was at home by himself.
Is he okay? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
He probably,
he lives in the basement anyways.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think he didn't realize the extent until my dad texted him.
I don't think anybody really did, because we get bad storms.
We do.
And also you're in a little bit of, like, my hometown, Wentzville, I think was okay.
Yeah.
I think it kind of developed right after Wentzville. I think we had gotten some hail, but it developed pretty much right over St. Louis, and all these storms head up like the 44 line.
They run that line. That's part of the reason. Rolla got absolutely.
Rolla got
hammered. Rolla got hammered.
Yes.
During St. Pat's too is just a
that was
very
really sad.
Tragic coincidence.
I was like, I know that some people did not survive
Yeah.
The storms, which is always just devastating. But like, I don't know where loss of life has come from. I don't know the numbers from Rolla.
Jamie, pulled it up. Sorry. Gotta lighten the mood a little bit.
I know we are talking about some very morbid topics, so
Yes.
we'll wrap it up. Yeah, but just the St. Patrick's Day, that was just really hard because there were a lot of frat people and sororities and.
They don't count.
I would say if they were
I've
drunk,
had my fair share of experience with those
if they were drunk,
undesirables.
they would not. There's no way you could tell frat guys to get inside for a tornado.
Be like, fuck you, I'm playing beer pong.
Somebody knock on the door. I want to jump into a entirely different topic and talk about, you're in a band.
I am.
You play drums.
I do play drums, some would say.
Yes.
Not necessarily well. I would say at a proficient level, but not advanced.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But yes, I do have experience playing drums. I was in percussion when I was younger. I did drumline in high school. But we started playing in a band. The band's called Out by Nine. We have 2 studio albums on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you get your music.
I think I'll put a link to it in my descriptions, and all of my tens of followers will.
They will maybe. Probably not listen to it.
You never know.
You never know. And I've showed some people at work and things like that. But it is cool. It's one of those things to where you don't really expect to gain traction on it. I never really expected anybody to necessarily listen to it. It's almost kind of a time capsule for us, in a sense.
Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it. We gig quite a bit, not as much recently, but we took our gig money, like 50% of the money we get from the gigs, split up 50% for us.
Yep.
Other 50 goes into the band fund for studio recordings. So we did this on 2 separate occasions. Practiced extensively in Don's basement or Don's garage. Don is my grandpa.
I was say that's Gramps.
That is Gramps.
I only know him as Gramps.
We just always call it Don Garage.
Don's
garage. But that's where we practiced and rehearsed and stuff. And it was both amazing experiences. It was a lot of fun. It's very cool to be able to look back on the music that we made and just kind of relive some of that, because it was such a unique, fun experience to have. And all of the experiences I am very grateful for that I've had, playing music and making music, playing for people and gigs and stuff. And I don't know. I always kind of saw it as more of a hobby sort of thing. I'm proficient enough to keep up with the other guys, but one of the guys is a music teacher, Mr. Johnson, and the guitar player, my cousin Noah.
He goes to Webster.
He goes to
Webster at school with me.
Yes, he does. But he is like a state-recognized, talented guitarist. He is extremely talented.
He is very talented, yeah.
And I will say, playing with those 2 guys motivated me heavily to become a better drummer, for sure.
Yeah.
Because when I started playing with them...
you sell yourself short, a lot. You are a very talented drummer. I loved going to your gigs and watching. I literally would just sit and stare at you and watch you play.
That's kind of creepy. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't want to...
You sell yourself short a lot. You are talented, and you can keep up and keep your own, not keep up in this, you keep up and are an essential part of the band. I mean, yeah, you are. You're not, there's definitely, you don't fall short.
No, it's one of those things when you have those other 2 guys that are as talented as they are.
Well, Mr. J is the singer.
Yes.
So obviously, the singer gets,
attention.
And then Noah, when he does
Noah's
his guitar
the guitar
riffs,
player, the young guitar player that everybody oogles over. I've been told on multiple occasions, after watching them both receive praise, and then they turn to me and they're like, well, you're just the drummer.
Well, I don't think they've said that.
No, they have.
Well, I mean...
I've heard that verbatim Multiple occasions.
I would never say that.
I know you wouldn't, but you also love me, so your opinion, you're blinded by your love.
I'm not blinded. But...
No. I'm not saying I'm straight up washed. I'm not terrible. I understand. I'm like able to keep a groove. I'm more of a pocket type drummer.
I mean,
I'm more of a pocket rhythmic vibe kind of drummer. I don't quite have the chops. And by chops, I mean just like the like drum solo type of thing.
I think you should do more of that, though.
I don't necessarily have the desire or the confidence, really, quite frankly,
I think
to attempt that sort of stuff. I am very comfortable keeping a nice groove, serving the music, and kind of embracing my place, keeping that backbeat.
So are you content with where you're at as a drummer? Because like you're always saying this stuff that like you wish you would get more praise and stuff.
I do.
Like, there is nothing wrong with being content with where you're at. I'm just saying that like I think you should maybe do more like drum solos just for fun.
Yeah. Well, we got to get more gigs lined up first of all.
That's true. Yeah.
It's been a hot minute since we've played.
Yeah.
I've been keeping myself nice and warmed up, playing in the basement in my my drum dungeon I like to call it.
I want to play your drums one time.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I think I would be really good at it.
I think I would. Everybody thinks they'd be really good
at playing the drums.
All you do is hit stuff.
My brother.
All you do is go boom, 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 boom.
My brother wanted to play drums for a little while, and we had like an electric drum set, and I would play on that and not play anything good or relevant, but
make
some
noise.
Experience. Yes, it always had like I would put on like the dog barking sound.
Like, woof, 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 woof.
Yeah. Like the ones that would always be like dogs barking and cars honking and stuff.
So just whatever you could do to drive your parents up a wall.
But it was electric. So you had to wear with headphones, yeah. I think we plugged it into an amp and
now that's where it gets when it gets hairy.
Yeah.
But yeah, but what I was trying to say is that playing with those two guys definitely motivated me to be a better drummer. I didn't want to be the weak link in the group. I didn't want somebody to look at us and be like, these guys could really be doing something, but
I guess I don't know. I don't know anything about music. I enjoy very much watching you guys play.
Yeah.
So like, and I think you guys sound absolutely amazing. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
Stop. Come on.
No, but I'm being serious.
It is very enjoyable to play, and I do miss playing. And it is nice to have the studio recordings, just that experience and stuff, just to wrap that up.
I mean, that's a lot of things. That's a lot of people can't say that. They have like two professionally recorded and produced albums.
Yeah.
And two.
Yeah, two of them.
Mm-hmm. And I like the songs.
That makes two of you.
Who's the other person?
Two of us. No,
you and me.
You and me.
Not even the other two members of the band.
And jury's still out with them.
Jury's still out.
No, we're all pretty happy with what we made. It's tough not to listen back and critique my own playing, as I'm sure everybody is when they see their own work, you know?
Yeah.
You always notice stuff that is maybe a little bit... You always just nitpick yourself. And I've always been guilty of that, as I'm sure a lot of people are.
Yes.
But
we are our own worst critics.
Yes.
That's why we say that.
That's why
we
that's a
say
phrase.
That phrase. So, I don't know. My drink...
Still sipping? You getting down to the bitter part or the syrupy?
Yeah.
Need a little bit more Kentucky House bourbon.
I will not be putting any more in here.
BTS reference.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to know that reference, go watch the BTS video.
Go watch. You're contractually obligated now.
It'll probably be linked or something.
It was very awkward. I didn't even know she was recording.
I told you I was going to.
I forgot. I have the memory of a goldfish.
You do have the memory of a goldfish.
I gotta stand up and stretch. I can't sit down.
Well, we'll wrap it up here. We've been going for over an hour. Can you believe that?
Over an hour? Mm-hmm. It's just so natural to riff with you, honestly. This has been It has been fun. It kind of forces you to have a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah. I've enjoyed doing all these episodes so far immensely.
I can see that. I just hope that it was entertaining to a degree. There's a lot of stuff that...
We did talk about more personal and stuff, which is part of the podcast. I mean, that's why it's like we talk about anything and everything. So doesn't matter what it is. And we're just two adults over the age of 21 enjoying an alcoholic beverage. It's the same vibe as going to the bar and just having a conversation. That's what I want this whole podcast to be, is just a
It does have that. It does have that feel, except without all the obnoxious background noise and stuff.
Yeah, so it's better.
Yes. Without all these.
It's just a chill Friday night, or I guess in our case, Saturday night. Sharing drinks, sharing goofs, sharing laughs, sharing stories. Sharing memories. So, yeah. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Nick, for being on the podcast. I hope you had a great time.
Thanks for having me. I did have a lot of fun.
If you'd like to promote anything, if you want your Instagram, or I could put the band's Instagram too.
Yeah,
or anything.
I don't really post too much on Instagram.
Nobody's allowed to follow my boyfriend. So.
He's mine.
He's mine.
But we don't have hasn't been a lot of stuff on the band Instagram lately, but definitely like our Spotify or whatever.
Yeah, I can link that.
Yeah. We used to have a website, but I think we lost the rights because we didn't pay it.
You didn't pay the domain name?
We didn't pay to cover the domain name. And there's some stupid English band that has the same name, but they spell the number 9.
Oh.
Ours is out by 9, as in the number. Theirs is like N-I-N-E.
Yeah.
Fucking English people.
Don't get them mixed up.
Don't get me started on British people.
We'll end it there. Do you have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, Europeans disgust me. I'm just kidding.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You can watch and listen on Spotify and YouTube. And if you're not following the podcast, go follow the podcast.
What are you even doing with your life is what I have to say to that.
You can follow it, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, and follow it on Instagram to get updates and know when the next episodes are coming out. You can follow it at the Poor Taste Podcast on Instagram. And I think that's everything. Are you...
Go Cards, go Blues, go Battlehawks.
Yes, Battlehawks are coming up soon.
Battlehawks are starting very soon, and I am very excited.
Yes.
Fuck Stan Kroenke. All right, I'm done.
All right. All right, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.